Reading passage 3. Causes of the American economic crisis. 2008 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਰਲਡ 'ਚ ਮਾਰਕੀਟ ਕ੍ਰੈਸ਼ ਹੋ ਗਈਆਂ ਸੀ ਐਂਡ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸ਼ੁਰੂਆਤ ਹੋਈ ਸੀ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਤੋਂ ਰਿਸੈਸ਼ਨ ਬਹੁਤ ਬੜਾ ਸਵੀਅਰਲੀ ਮਾਰਕੀਟ ਨੂੰ ਹਿੱਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਐਂਡ ਅਕ੍ਰੋਸ ਦਾ ਵਰਲਡ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦਾ ਕੰਟਰੀਜ਼ ਦਾ ਮਿਲੀਅਨਸ ਬਿਲੀਅਨਸ 'ਚ ਲਾਸ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਟੌਪਿਕ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਰਿਲੇਟਡ ਆ kind of the question answers we are having a yes no not given 27th one, those that fall for common scams deserve to be compensated by society मतलब जे कोई victim होया तो वो deserve करता है कि compensated by the society. Many homeowners are too young and irresponsible. 31st question, we have to complete each sentence. Banks have a responsibility too, and each bank is responsible for. It's a good signposting in the question number 34 to 39, the American government's role. First line dekh lange so that whenever it will start, फिर आप questions डिटेल च कर लवांगे लिख रहे सी इट इज़ द अमेरिकन गवर्नमेंट विच इज़ आर्ग्यूबली most responsible for the economic crisis. In order to dash properly, people must be sheltered from possible problems ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਕਿ ਕ੍ਰੀਏਟ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ sheltered ਮਤਲਬ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਚਾਇਆ ਜਾਵੇ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਕਿ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮਸ ਖੜੀਆਂ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਗਈਆਂ ਹਨ ਬਾਏ ਕਿਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਦੁਆਰਾ ਰਾਈਟ देखते हैं कौन खड़ियां कर रहे सी फर्स्ट पैराग्राफ when discussing the causes of the late 2000s American subprime mortgage crisis subprime mortgage crisis mean पहली गल subprime इस जगह ते मतलब credibility देखण तो बिना ही किसी नूं लोन दे देना कि वो इंसान वाकई है भी इस दे काबिल या नहीं है राइट बैंक्स ने अपने टारगेट्स मीट करने सी बेतहाशा लोगों को लोन दे दिते गए राइट बशर्ते कि पूरा तौर पर चैकअप ही नहीं किया गया कि वो वाकई सही होगा या नहीं होगा मॉर्गेज क्राइसिस इट इज़ ईजी टू ले ऑल द ब्लेम्स ऑन द बैंक्स बट इट इज़ इनकरेक्ट टू क्लेम इनोसेंट द इंडिविजुअल होम बायर्स इनवॉल्वड ये कह देना कि जो घर खरीदण वाले आ वो इनोसेंट आ as well as the American government as a whole सारा blame असी banks ते नहीं खड़ा कर सकते there are many examples in the years leading up to the crisis where moral obligation failed to be met for the home buyers it is a case of ignoring a scenario which was upon deeper inspection too good to be true for the bankers it was a falling prey to their own laissez-faire loaning policies. Laissez-faire meaning is कि जिथे गवर्नमेंट इंटरवीन नहीं करती कि सोसाइटी किद्दां काम करी मतलब कि प्राइवेट ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस कह लो बैंक से लोग आपस किद्दां काम कर रहे सी उत्थे गवर्नमेंट की इंटरवेंशन जी ज़्यादा नहीं होंगी गवर्नमेंट कहती इटसेल्फ काम चल रहा बस ठीक है गवर्नमेंट बाहर खड़ी रही है तो लिख रहा laissez-faire loaning policies lending without giving much interest to the mandates required for the borrower. For the government, it was instituting such a laissez-faire system in the first place, free of regulatory checks and balances. Next paragraph. Question ही दस्या उसने background information दे रहा सी अपन. कहना if a person falls a prey to an email scam, बहुत बड़ी होंदी है कि थोड़ी jackpot लग गया जी millions दी lottery लग गई मेरे ख्याल से ਆਪਾਂ ਕਦੀ ਨਾ ਕਦੀ ਲਾਈਫ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਦਾਂ ਦੀ ਮਿਲੀਅਨ ਡਾਲਰਸ ਦੀ ਲੋਟਰੀ ਨੂੰ ਰਿਸੀਵ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ ਹੋਊਗਾ ਹਾਂ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਅੱਗੇ ਅਪਲਾਈ ਨਾ ਕਰਿਓ ਇਹ ਨਾ ਹੋਵੇ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਥੋੜੇ ਬਹੁਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪੈਸੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਗਵਾ ਲਓ If a person falls prey to an email scam, the blame is deservedly placed on the hapless, unlucky, unfortunate person. Society feels pity for them. Society ਨੂੰ ਹਮਦਰਦੀ ਤੇ ਹੈ ਪਰ अच्छा वर्ड होंगे But nobody feels the government should reimburse the individuals for their lack of caution. पर कोई ये नहीं कह रहा कि उसਨੂੰ reimburse ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਵੇ कि ਉਹਦੀ ਗਲਤੀ ਦੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਜੋ ਉਹਦਾ ਨੁਕਸਾਨ ਹੋਇਆ. The person in this scenario has affected no one but himself. Right? Question ਕਹਿ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀ 27th one, those that fall for common scams, they deserve to be compensated by the society. Nahin, no is the answer for your question number 27th. ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਉਹਦਾ ਹੀ ਆ ਜੇ ਤੂੰ ਕੀਤਾ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਭੁਗਤੋ ਸੋਸਾਇਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਹਮਦਰਦੀ ਠੀਕ ਆ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਕਹਿ ਵੀ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀ they feel pity for them but ਇਹਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਹੁਣ ਪੈਸੇ ਦਈਏ ਜੀ ਉਹਦੀ ਕੰਪਨਸੇਸ਼ਨ ਕਰੀਏ. Question number 29, society trusts the banking system. नहीं भी मिले तो क्लिक तो यस करना चाहिए क्योंकि इसी करके तो शायद आप लोग भी बैंक से भरोसा ही करते हैं तो अपने पैसा असी बैंक च रखा हुआ है. जब अपना ट्रस्ट ही नहीं होगा तो बैंक च पैसा ही क्यों रखा. Either it could be a yes or not given. If suppose you have written no, it meaning is your understanding is poor. ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਦਿਮਾਗ 'ਚ ਇੰਨਾ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਅੰਡਰਸਟੈਂਡ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਬੈਂਕ 'ਤੇ ਲੋਕੀ ਭਰੋਸਾ ਕਰੂਗੇ ਜਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰੂਗੇ ਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਨੋ ਲਿਖ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਅੱਜ ਦਾ ਆਨਸਰ ਤਾਂ ਮਤਲਬ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮਾਸ਼ਾਅੱਲਾ ਹੀ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਰੀਡਿੰਗ. If a person falls prey to a too good to be true subprime mortgage and ends up the bankrupt, he or she is not just hurting themselves, they are also hurting the society. Because that debt inevitably rests with the populace. Thus, while a person has no social responsibility to act a certain way in the case of the email scam, a person does have a social obligation when it comes to the actions that can hurt the society. ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੁਝ ਵੀ ਕਰੋ ਤਾਂ ਸੋਸਾਇਟੀ ਦਾ ਹਰਟ ਤਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਜਾਂ ਨੁਕਸਾਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ. Such as taking on a subprime mortgage. The counter argument here is that people perceive banks as possessing a certain level of trustworthiness. आगी लाइन जैसे लगता है कि लोग की perceive करते हैं लोग ये मान के चलते कि yes सानू banks से trust है. Answer of your question number 29th and answer comes out to be yes. In between of 27 and 29 we have not got कि many homeowners are too young and irresponsible. कितने उन्हें ये गल नहीं की थी. Answer is not given for your question number 28th. Home buyers have an ethical obligation to beware of trustworthy institutions. Again, answer could be yes or not given. जब आप क्वेश्चन को अंडरस्टैंड कर लेते हैं एथिकल ऑब्लिगेशन है या नहीं है. ऑब्वियसली साडी एथिकल ऑब्लिगेशन बनती है इस मामले च. आगे लिख दे and that it is unreasonable to expect people to have their too good to be true radar active and dealing with the banks. Nevertheless, it's the last line of the paragraph. People do have an ethical obligation. Clear कर गया कि लोगों की ethical obligation है to be aware of the pitfalls. उन्हें पता होना चाहिए है and being told it is okay by trustworthy institutions is simply not a sufficient excuse. Clear cut answer of your question number 30th and answer is yes. Now should be careful for the question number 31st. Banks have a responsibility too. देखते हैं किस मामले की गल कर रहा है. Each bank is responsible for. Banks have a responsibility to protect their customers and to look out for the general economic health of not just their company but of the entire industry. Now we have to understand this particular sentence which is giving the answer of the 31st. कि लिखा उसने बैंक की जिम्मेवारी है to protect their customers and to look out for the general economic health ना कि अपनी ही कंपनी दी but of the entire industry जैसो इंडस्ट्री दा पार्ट या right. Option protect the industry they are a part of. E is the answer for your question number 31st one. आगे पढ़ते हैं जी. The American banks failed in these considerations in each of these regards. First, they offered the mortgage to the millions of ill-qualified buyers who were clearly not going to be able to fulfill the requirements of the mortgage to make the loans viable. Individual lenders acted selfishly, exploited very relaxed lending policies to benefit their own finances. Second, banks fail to look after the health of their own companies. This is not a failure of the individual bankers, but a failure of those in the management positions. Many US companies that need a multi-billion-dollar bailout are an unmitigated disaster. Although this failure falls more in line with their email scam, that is to say, a failure which is not a social failure, but a business failure. The social failure lies in the bank's obligation to the entire industry and the economy as a whole. हर एक बैंक responsible है. Question number 32. Each bank is responsible. Exactly words मिल जाते हैं. कहता each bank is responsible for a small piece of the economic pie. Answer for your question number 32nd one. They're small part of the big economic picture. D is the answer for question number 32nd one. If one bank fails, it appears as a blip on the radar. However, अच्छा word ਹੁੰਦਾ underline ਰੱਖ ਲੈਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ. With each individual's failure, the threshold for failure for the remaining companies is lowered. It is in this sense that companies have a moral obligation to do a good business. The moral obligation here. Because if they don't, they raises the chances of the bankruptcy for each of their competitors. Suddenly problem khadi kar doge. And the economy as a whole also. Eventually, finally. Question number 33rd. A recession is started. Kadon? Kenda, a recession is started when? Kenda, eventually the threshold of failure is so low that almost all lending has to cease and the recession is ignited, started, right? This is the line we have to understand. Threshold of the failure is so low that almost जिन्नियां भी lendings हैगियां हैं उन्हां नूं seize करना ही पैना है, has to cease and the recession is ignited. Option for 33rd. A recession is started when the breathing room for failure is so low that lending has to stop. A is the answer for your question number 33rd. Next very paragraph to government, American government dekh janda. Now we should be careful for the rest of all the questions. Because see, in order to dash properly, people must be sheltered from possible problems created by dash. Next very paragraph. In this investigation of a blame placing, arguably the body who holds the most responsibility is the American government. The truth is that if people are not protected by themselves, by the government, society can't function well. Answer of the 34th and 35th. Society cannot function well. In order to function properly, H is the answer for your 34th. People must be sheltered from the possible problems created by themselves. That is option is a D. Regulation is required in any society in order to coerce people into acting for the benefit of. Kede benefit vaste loki karan. Age likh de. The worthy free market is similar, akin to an economic version of the Hobbes state of nature. Thomas Hobbes, इंसान होया सी उन्होंने pure state of nature लिखी है, the natural condition of the mankind कितना दिया. चलो उस पासे नहीं जाते आप. People acting like tigers and bears, trying to get each other's money. Society doesn't work optimally when it pays overwhelming dividends for the people to act selfishly. Is the ulta apan nu aana chahiye si answer. It takes a regulation and an economic policy to force people into acting in a society's best interest. One of the duties of the government is to protect its citizens from each other. This is the duty of the government, and in this case, the American government has failed catastrophically. Defenders of the free market will claim that this is a recession is simply a temporary bump in the road for what is arguably the greatest economic power in the world history. ਕੀ ਹੈ ਇਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਇੱਕ temporary bump in the road for what is arguably the greatest economic power in the world history. They will claim that the free market is in the best interest of everyone despite its rather unsightly undercarriage. Option ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾਵੇ for question number 37th. Society in order to coerce people into acting for the benefit of everyone. A is the answer for your 36th one. Government is in place to serve its citizens, and in this case it has failed. Apologists will say that recession is just a dash on the radar of American supremacy. ਹਲਕਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਵੀ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲ ਲਿਖ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀਗਾ, ਲਿਖ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਡਿਫੈਂਡਰਸ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਉੱਪਰਲੀ ਲਾਈਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ. Defenders of the free market will claim that this recession is what is simply a temporary bump. ਕਿਹਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ? In the road for what is arguably the greatest economic power in the world history, on the radar of the American supremacy, right? While others say that such bumps, ਹੁਣ ਉੱਥੇ bumps word ਤਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਲਿਖਿਆ, but there is another word that is blip. E is the answer for your question number 37th one. While others says that the bumps on the road are dash of serious problems, despite the rather unsightly undercarriage, it can be argued that bumps in the road are symptomatic of a system in need of healing. Sign of a system in need of healing by means of regulation. 38th answer is I, of serious problems. Regulation is the solution to the problem. Regulation ही solution है problem दे कि आप rule बना के चलिए. पर कहता but the American dash of independence. हम देख रहे हैं American the key केड़ा कहता dash of independence and small government will be very difficult to crack. अगे लिखदा सी symptomatic of a system in need of healing by the means of regulation. अच्छा word. Unfortunately, American culture is such that American culture के अंदर किस तरीके का डेवलप हो चुका है, is such that any regulation, कोई भी जेड़ा कोई regulation बनाई जाती है तो लोग उसनों कितना देखते हैं, वो कहते हैं seen as a government's interference हो रही है किसी private affairs के मामले दे बेच, and such intervention conflicts with American ideals and the norms. Answer is American culture. That is F is the answer for your question number 39th one. Right? Question number 40th. Choose the correct letter A, B, C or D. Write the correct letter in box days. Which of the following phrases best describes the aim of the reading passage 3? कुछ लास्ट वाली एक दो लाइन्स देख लेंगे. वैसे स्टोरी क्लियर हो गई सी. वो ऑब्लिगेशन खड़ी कर रहा है लोगों के उत्ते भी, गवर्नमेंट्स के उत्ते भी, बैंकिंग सिस्टम के उत्ते भी कि सारिਆਂ ਨੂੰ रिस्पॉन्सिबल होकर चलना चाहिए. लिख रहा सी लास्ट वाली कुछ लाइन्स देख लेंगे. ਉਹਦੇ 'ਚ कुछ चेंज था. In regard to the some prime mortgages, regulation of a banking is like an insurance policy for the economy. It may lower profits. Insurance policies cost money, but it smooths out the bumps in the road as long as the American government continues to turn a blind eye to these insurance policies, they will continue to put the social well-being of citizens at risk. Same centralized para theme upar wale de naal hi usnu club karke likh riya siga. Option that comes out to be for the question number 40th is the C option, to suggest that every person and company needs to be responsible to each other. This is all about your reading passage 3.